What's up guys, it's right here, and we are back today with another deck profile. This time we're going to take a look at Gurguit. This is the deck that I completely passed by back in set 3, because back in set 3 this deck was completely unplayable. It was garbage, it was terrible, the deck had no redeeming factors, there was absolutely no reason to play that deck. But now, in set 7, we actually got support. This deck got more support, and the cards are actually good now. So this deck isn't, let's lead off, it isn't like amazing or anything, but it's definitely a very playable deck, definitely like a very it's very mid-rangey, kind of like does pretty cool things kind of deck. It's not amazing, not top tier or anything, but it does have a few niches going for it that makes it at least relevant enough to talk about. So yeah, so without further ado, here is the list that I am playing. So first off, the starter, I have no idea what this dude's name is, but his skill is GB1 Unite. So Unite is the keyword for golds. Unite, basically, if you've called 2 units during that turn, your cards go into a Unite state, meaning all the cards that ask you to be in Unite will be active. Doesn't matter if you called on that turn or if it was already on the board or not. As long as you've called 2 cards during that turn, you will be in the Unite state, and all the cards that ask for it will be able to use their effects. So starter has anti-retire, and his actual effect is Unite. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or higher Gurguit, you can put him into Soul. Check top 4, call a card from one, and give it plus 2k. So it's anti-retire starter. It lets you call a card off the 4 and gives it power. So for just overall an okay starter. All other starters are kind of ass. Goals never really had had good starters to begin with. The best one being the Wingo Liberator card. It's a Liberator card and it got nerfed, so wouldn't play it here. But yeah, I think this is probably overall the best starter. I think the only other starter you consider is probably the Lionette, just to give something power and can maybe extend with it, but I think the starter is overall more useful. So yeah, so that's my starter. Grade 1, Strat Fodder. This dude, he's basically the peer for this flame. We don't know peer being the Ulma grade 1, but he's one of his skills Unite. Once per turn, when something is called, you give him plus the thing in front of it plus 2k. So basically just if you're calling this thing becomes 9k booster, the thing in front of it becomes a solo attacker pretty much. So yeah, it's okay, just a filler one up. Not the biggest fan of this card personally. It's an okay card, not terrible, not amazing, so it's a filler one up for a reason. Great one I do like though is the Jeffrey. So his skill is Unite. At the end of battle, this unit attacked or boosted, you can put him into Soul to draw a card. So this card fulfills 2 rules. He's Soul, which this deck does need a lot of, and he's draw 1, meaning it's a hand advantage, so it's you get to draw. So sometimes in some matchups you just where you want your board off, where you just don't want a board against something like Link Joker or like Kagero or something like that. This card gets off the board, trades for a card in hand, and gives you a resource in Soul, which the deck does need a lot. So I think this card is very useful. And this card is very good. I definitely think that because of this grade 3 here, this doggy grade 3 here, the fact that you're losing booster isn't too important, because this card acts as a booster, and that's good enough for this deck. So I definitely think this card is really good. I think it's definitely the best grade 1 in this lot, in my opinion, at the very least. I definitely know some lists max out in this card just get more skill and boosters, but I personally prefer the ability to get a card off my board, go and get some extra soul, get a draw in hand. So yeah, that's why I play for this card. And finally, the Unite PG. So this is not the countercharge PG. Her skill is Unite. When this card is called, so this card specifically needs you to already have the Unite state to actually be use our skill. So if this is the first thing you call during a turn, you actually cannot use this skill. But all the other cards usually just ask for you to be in Unite, but this card needs to be Unite when she's called. So don't call this as your first card off a superior call skill, because if you do, you are not in the Unite state and you cannot use her skill. But her skill is on called, if you're in Unite, return a grade 1 or higher card on your board back to your deck to give her the skill at the end of the or actually, when this card's called from deck, you need to pay this cost to give her the skill at the end of the turn, return to hand. So technically the golds have a tutorable PG now, because with this card, if you call her off at the top 4 or something, you can return a different card, and at the end of the turn she goes back to your hand. And the good thing is you can use her as a booster for that turn, because she doesn't immediately go back to the hand. So I think being able to tutor PG, quote unquote tutor PG, is pretty nice, pretty good. One of Gold's problems in like every variation that in their decks has always been just fake hands, but now you have a semi-tutorable PG, which is pretty cool. Sometimes you do wish you had CCPG instead, just because the CC is nice. This deck does burn through CP a lot, and you do see the trips in here to unflip, but sometimes you just can't get her to hit because you need to click Vanguard and you don't have a way to clear the intercept. But Yeah, sometimes you do miss the CCPG, but I do think being able to tutor for APG is a lot nicer. So that's why I personally choose to play for the Unite tutorable PG over the CCPGs. So yeah, that's it for your ones. Grade 2s, old cards first. 4 Blaster Dark Spirits. I don't think it makes no difference between Blaster Blade or Blaster. I just chose to play Blaster Dark because I think he's cooler. But basically, skills when called from the deck, CB1 to retire when your opponent's front row grade 2 or lower units. Blaster Blade retires grade 2 or higher. Blade's probably better, but I don't think it's enough of a difference. I just play the one that looks cooler to me, so that's why I play Blaster Dark. You can play whichever one you want, doesn't matter. And the skill where and about that it's attacked, it just dies. So, yeah. But he's retired, which is pretty good, and that's why I play it. And next up, 3 trips. On her skill is on hit CC1, so it's very simple on hit CC1. Next up, we have Quill. His skill is GB1. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, if he is boosted, CB1 checked out 3, call a card from among them. So the reason I play this card is because he is basically just a extender on your last skill turn. Sometimes I wish I didn't even. Sometimes this card is just a 9k avail. I don't even want this card half the time, but for now I'm playing it, and sometimes it does help you just extend for an extra attack for kill for lethal. But there is actually another card which I was considering playing over this, which I'll just go over right now. I'm not playing it now, but in the future I might be playing it. But I might be playing this dude instead. His skill is Unite plus 2k, so solo attack is pretty cool. And then on play, CB1 checked out 4 and call a card from among them to the same to a rear circle that's the same call as this card. So basically call a card behind it. So solo attacker and CB1 call a booster or an attacker for next turn or something. I think this card's worth considering over the Quill, but for now I have the Quill, so that's why I'm keeping it here for now. And for last left, the card that I know I'm not gonna cut is her. I don't know her name, but she's a very good card. Unite during your turn if I think it's if your Vanguard is grade 4 or higher. So basically, if you strided plus 3k, so solo attacker, and she has resist. So resist is nice because resist lets you just have resist. You know, resist is always nice to have, never a bad thing. And just being a solo attacker means that this thing can attack in the Vanguard unboosted to save your boosters for later sometimes, and that's pretty relevant on a turn where you're like spirited, and on a glorious range turn where you use the spirit and you need something to attack Vanguard solos. So this card serves multi-purpose, and yeah, resist is never a bad tap too. So 4 of her, and finally to the triggers, 4 heal guards. One of this dude, I don't know his name again. His name is his skill is GB1 when student attack hits the Vanguard. CB1 checked out 4, call a card from among them. So he's an extender, pretty cool. I use them whenever I'm never not happy to see this card. Whenever I draw this card, I'm like, oh cool, I can extend with it. So pretty nice there. For Gurguit, so he's the main ride of the deck. He's the only thing you ever want to be on. His skill is so his stride bonus skill is when you stride on top of him, CB1 checked out 4, call a card from among them and give it plus 2k. On ride plus 3k, and his GB2 is at the end of your turn you can still blast 1 CB1 to check top 4 cards of your deck and put a card from among them to your drop zone and give him 5k until the end of your opponent's turn. If the card you milled was a trigger, he gets an additional 5k. So your Gurguit can be a 16k during your opponent's turn if you mill a non-trigger, and a 21k during your opponent's turn if you mill a trigger. So this skill can screw over a lot of the multi-attack decks a lot, because a lot of times, for example, something like Grand Blue, they want to be poking like 11 to Vanguard first, or like poking like 16 columns in. This card now says those columns cannot hit. You need triggers for it to hit, or in the example of Grand Blue, they would need to specifically have Rook to hollow it out to hit your 21k. And the extra power also means that you are in heal guard range more often, meaning you don't need to use your PGs as early, because sometimes with extra power you are within the heal guard range to block certain attacks. Like 20 if you're 21, a 26k Vanguard swing is no longer in PG range, you're now in heal guard range. So pretty cool there, pretty nice defensive effect. But honestly, you don't use it too often just because you want to be saving your soul and your CB for other effects. So but it's there for the matchups where it matters. So not used too often, but in the matchup where it matters, the skill is very good. And the stride bonus skill is also very good, just the +3/+1 on stride, which is really nice. And finally, the last grade 3 you play is this dog. I don't know its name. It's something Gal, pretty sure. But skill is Unite. If you're as long as you enter Unite once, this card becomes an Intercept. This card gains Intercept. So this card could be on the board. Then you call 2 more. They'll gain Intercept. It could be the first thing you call. It could be the last thing you call. As long as you've called two cards at some point and you are in Unite, and this card on the board, this card will get Intercept and he keeps it forever. which is pretty cool. And then he also has the other skill of that's not locked on GB1 on play, it gains boost for the turn. So this is where Jeffrey going to Soul doesn't matter as much, because Jeffrey going to Soul, this you're playing this dog, so this dog is basically 4 extra boosters. Yes, it's only for the turn, but you just place it down and you use it for that turn as a booster. The next turn you can push it up as an intercept if they didn't kill it. So I definitely think this is by far the best like extra grade 3 to have in this deck, because extra intercepts and extra boost is very nice. And sometimes you just want to be calling your triggers out of your deck anyways, just so you don't run the risk of deck out. So calling a trigger that's also an intercept is really nice. So yeah, I think this card is a very, very good inclusion to the deck. And that's it in the main deck. Now to the strides, we play 1 Scourge Point. This skill is when something's called from the deck, this unit and the unit called get plus 5k, so pretty good there, just because on your first stride turn, your opponent doesn't commit too much. Let's say they commit like 1 intercept and nothing else, you can like stride, Scourge Point, and then like Blast Relay Spirit the intercept, and then just then Spirit gains power, then you just have like the other rear, like Poke, and then like the Spirit Link can be boost, it can be a column that would hit, and then so you can just get 3 clean swings to face. So yeah, this card, although it just gives you power, it lets you push early, which is really nice. And a lot of times I do find myself going to this card as my first stride. And then next up, we're playing 1 Rising Shine. Skill is on hit, CV1, flip anything for a G zone. Checked out 3, call 2 cards from among them. I think this is the card I go into the least as the first stride. This card is here for 2 reasons. One, it lets you just shit out a board, which is very nice sometimes. Sometimes you just don't have, your hand isn't amazing, you just need a board to play down. This card lets you do that. And the other reason is, in some matchups, you need to just turbo your GB2, and this card lets you do that because it flips. So at the end of the turn, you can use Gurguit to get the extra power on the Vanguard, which is really nice. And a matchup like, I don't know, like Aqua Force is actually pretty useful. But yeah, this card is probably the thing I go into the least, and just ends up being flip fodder later on, but it's there as an option. It's nice because the Gurguit and the Rising Shine flip anything, so you can just interchangeably flip them for each other's cost. So yeah, this card is nice to have as an option. And then finally, the last one of it is the Campbell. So Campbell's skill, he's the on hit stride, so on hit to a Vanguard, checks out 5 call. Card from them, give it plus 2k. You use this when you like don't need the power, or use this when they have like double intercept, you just want to push for extra damage. This card lets you do that, which is pretty nice. And next up for the new strides, I'm playing 3 of the Gurguit stride. So his skill is GB2 Unite, Soul Blast 2, CB1, and flip anything from your G zone to give. Let me actually make sure how he gets power. I just know this thing. I just know he gets really, really big. But see, you pay cost, and then you this thing gets 1 second. This thing gets all your rears get plus 5k, and then he gains 5k per rear you have. So on a full board, each of your rears get 5k, so 10k to a column, and then he himself would get plus 25 because you have 5 rears. So gets really big, and he also gets a crit, which is nice because sometimes you just want to crit them just for the easy PG check, because this thing is going to be, Gurgit's going to be huge, and if he's huge, that means he's always checking for a PG, which is really cool. And then in addition, the other skill that's really cool with this card is that at the end of your turn, if your G zone is a face-up copy of himself, you can put 2 cards with Unite. Actually no, yeah, you can put 2 cards with Unite, with the Unite's ability back to the bottom of your deck. If you put 2, you can CC 1, and then all your units gain intercept, and they can intercept from the back row. So that explanation was terrible, but basically, if you have a full board, you can choose 2 cards with Unite to put them back to CC 1, so you refund the CB cost on the crit skill. And then let's just say you put your 2 front rows back into your deck. Your back row now gains intercept, and they can intercept from the back row, meaning you have 3 intercepts during your opponent's turn. And against decks, and against all the multi-tech decks in the meta right now, this card just kind of says no to all of it. They don't have removal. Like for example, Alt Mile would have to have specifically the Blaster Blade to snipe something in the back, assuming the back row is even grade 2s. Night Rose would have to Cannoneer the back row, something in the back row to get attacks to face. So this card, just having 3 intercept, can sometimes just shut down all these multi-tactics or force them to pay a bunch of extra costs to do what they normally do just to get to your face to begin with. So the skill is again not used in every matchup. Like against something like Kagero, using this is basically useless because you're gonna kill your back row anyway. You're gonna kill your entire board anyways. Of course, assuming it's not resist or anti-retire, but Against matchups like that, this skill is useless, but against matchups where it does matter, this skill is an absolute lifesaver. Sometimes it just buy you an extra turn, which is really good. So yeah, very good card. I played more of this card because I do actually think that going into 2 of this card is really nice. Usually it's like first stride, one of these 3 guys. Second stride, it's usually Gurguit, and then Gurguit flips to Gurguit, so you can use the multiple intercept skill. And then next stride, if you're not in range of killing them, you usually just go into Gurguit again, and then flip one of these other first stride dudes to pay cost. And then since you already have a face a copy of the Gurguit in your G zone, you can still use the skill if you need to again. And if not, you go into the Glorious Raining Dragon to end games if they're in lethal range, which is 5. His skill is Unite. This unit attacks the Vanguard, CB1, G Persona flip. Put 2 grade 1, 2 grade 2, or actually, no, let me make sure. Choose 2 grade 1 or higher rears to the bottom of your deck to check top 7, and then call the same number of cards as the number of face-up cards in your G zone. And then if you call 3 or more, CC1. So basically, on first, if you stride him first for whatever reason, he becomes a call 1. If you stride him second and you didn't flip anything, you call 2. If it's second and you flip the card on something like Rising Shine, you can call 3 cards with this. But usually this is like your last stride, so usually you can end up just calling in a full board if you want, because it'd be like 1, 2, 3, you usually have like 4 or 5 cards face up, so you could actually just refill your entire board if you want to. But this card is nice because he's just a multi-attack enabler. He just at 5 it's like 3 checks. If you have full, it's 4 checks. So just pretty nice here. Just lets you enable your multi-attacks. Can refund cost as well. But the only reason I'm playing 2 of this card is because I don't have 4 copies yet. But even if I did, I don't think I would play 4 of it, because the biggest issue with Glorious Raining is that your rears don't get power. So if they're not at 5, you run the risk of a defensive just cucking your entire turn, which is really kind of So usually I only use this guy when your opponent's at 5, when you know you can just check a bunch of times. Because otherwise, I'd rather just go into Gurguit. Maybe flip a Spirit off the top to target Intercept, so you can get the PG check and then still push the 5 for next turn. But for the most part, this card is usually the last thing you ever go into. Usually if you go into this guy, it's your game-ending turn. And if you just happen to rush them, early, you can also end the game on first stride as well, because this card still enables your multi-attack. So yeah. But yeah, that is the deck profile. That is this deck. Overall, again, I don't think the deck's particularly amazing. I do find it pretty fun to play, but overall, it's not that good. I was engaged for you guys after this, as per usual, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.